It's time! And now, introducing your host, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Boston, Massachusetts, presenting live
the Bostonian versus the Book. Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the Book.
Here he is, Matt Perron!
Enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a BetCris Arizona Thursday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. My name is Matt Peralta. We are live on YouTube and X, that handle at Boston versus the Book, and we are replayed on SportsGrid TV each and every weeknight. Audio podcasts wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. Today, Adam Bjorn, where in the world will he be? I thought he was going to be in Barcelona. I'm wrong. He had made the announcement on social media that he was headed to the ICE conference, not our ICE, but the International Gaming Conference called ICE. He's headed over to Barcelona for that. And a lot of folks in the gambling world are headed over there, and he is going, but I thought he was going to be there. Well, he sent me a message this morning and said, nope, I'm not in Barcelona yet. So I don't know where he is. So where in the world will Adam Bjorn be today? I don't know, but we'll go through all 4 games with him for the divisional rounds and the national championship game for Miami and Indiana. Where is the master money, as they call it? That's the sharp action, the professional action. Where is that going to land? And are we going to see any movement here before kickoff on Saturday and on Sunday? The weather in Chicago continues to be a major story for the Rams, as this will be the coldest game in the career of Matthew Stafford. And the last time they played in frigid temperatures below 20 degrees, the Rams offense only scored 19 points. So not really a great track record for a dome, West Coast, LA-based, beautiful weather type environment normally to go to Chicago in late January, where the weather is expected to be brutal. Now, the Patriots are playing the Texans, a Southern team, dome. They're going to get beautiful weather, at least by January standards, which is kind of crazy. If you stop and go, okay, what's the weather going to be like? Well, the weather is going to be balmy, like really balmy. And I think it's kind of a bummer because I was really hoping that we were going to see some nasty, cold, just typical New England grossness. And we're not going to get that for the Patriots game against the Texans. So that kind of stinks. So weather's not going to be a problem in New England. The other games, weather really shouldn't be that big of an issue. Seattle hosting the 49ers on Saturday night. That should be fine. The Bills, obviously, when you look at road games, Denver can be tricky, but all accounts at the moment, it's going to be relatively nice in Denver coming up for that. So all that and more coming up with Adam Bjorn in about 15 minutes. We have the opening line being brought to you by Huel in just 1 second. We'll talk about John Harbaugh getting the job for the Giants. But before we do that, big cool announcement about what's going to happen for us on Thursday and Friday at Radio Row for the Super Bowl. So Thursday is a BetCris Arizona Thursday. So 2 weeks from today, we are live on Radio Row. Adam Bjorn is going to co-host the show with me. He's going to be with me, interviewing everybody, breaking things down, having a lot of fun. I've never hosted with Adam. I can't wait to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So he is going to be my co-host on the BetCris Arizona Thursday edition of BVB live from Radio Row. But Friday's show is also going to be co-hosted, and it's going to be co-hosted by Sim Harmon, as our friends at Cut are back. He's going to be with me on Friday, as we're going to co-host the show together on Friday before the Super Bowl with Sim and I on Radio Row. So this is unique. This is going to be fun. This is going to be different from me to have two different co-hosts on two different days, live from San Francisco, but super excited to get going with this. Super happy to have those two guys coming to San Francisco, flying into San Francisco to be a part of Radio Row and for us to do this. So Thursday and Friday, we will be live from Radio Row. Wednesday is still up in the air. I'll tell you, I'm going to be on the ground on Wednesday in San Francisco. I just don't know what I'm doing yet. There could be a brigade only, YouTube only show coming on Wednesday. I got to figure out how that's going to work and where I'm going to be able to do it from and how I'm going to get set up and everything. So I don't want to commit to too much for Wednesday because I don't know what the travel situation is going to be like, and I don't know how it's going to be in San Francisco. It might be a complete zoo, so I may not get over there. I'm scheduled to land on Wednesday, I think somewhere around like noon or around lunchtime or so. So then I got to get from the airport at SFO to downtown, which can take some time, get the car and everything else and trying to find my way through. By the way, thanks to Nissan for taking care of the car for me. That's been a huge deal too. So we got that situation taken care of. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of cool things that are going to be happening for the week of the Super Bowl. But Thursday, Friday, I wanted to make that announcement. Thursday, Adam Bjorn. Friday, Sim Harmon co-hosting, and then who the heck knows who's going to sit down and have conversations. Both shows will be 2 hours in length, by the way, 10 to 12 live Pacific time, 1 to 3 Eastern from Radio Row. We're already booking guests. We're already getting people. Ooh, sorry, I'm smacking my microphone. Sorry. We're already getting people who want to be a part of the program and come on in. So that is happening for us. Very excited to get that rolling live from Radio Row. Who is she? Who's she co-hosting? What are we at? Well, what are we asking? Is she co-hosting? Who's she? Sim? Sim's a boy. Who's she? I don't know who she is. Oh, Golden Gate Bridge meetup? Yeah, why not? That could be fun. Having all of us hang out and do that. That could be fun to do that. So that's all going to happen. There will be other announcements. I got other things to get into here. From an announcement standpoint, we have a new segment starting next week, which is going to be really fun. If you guys are from Chicago, you may have heard of a company that we're going to talk about next week, but we got some cool stuff happening with them. So good things are happening. We're kicking. We're moving. We're moving. It's an exciting time for us coming up here as we will roll coming through everything else. Let's get into it with the opening line. The John Harbaugh saga looks to be over. So John Harbaugh appears to be headed to the New York Giants. This, by all accounts, being reported on by Jordan Schultz and others, that John Harbaugh will accept a deal in the neighborhood of $100 million. 5 years, $100 million to be the head coach of the New York Giants. As Jordan Schultz texted or tweeted this morning, text from AFC executive, Vrabel to New England last year is John Harbaugh to the Giants in 2026. Mark it down now. A+ higher. I am as big of a hater of the New York sports teams as you will find. I hate the Giants. I hate the Jets more, but I hate the Giants, and for the Super Bowls and everything else. Yeah, yes, I will always have a very deep dislike of the Giants. But even I will not sit here and tell you that this hire is dumb. This is not a dumb hire. This is a very, very smart hire by the New York Giants. We'll get into more of it here in just 1 second, but a reminder that the opening line's being brought to you by our friends at Huel. The QR code's on the screen. You guys can use your cell phone to go ahead and pick it up, shoot it, and that will take you right over to Huel.com/BVB20 to get 20% off your high-protein starter kit, which if you are a new customer, you can get 20% off with that code BVB20. If you're looking to hit your protein goals in 2026, I start my morning almost every day with this. I started it off today with this. With the high protein starter kit, you get 5 Black Edition ready to drink bottles. Plus, you get the Black Edition chocolate powder. That's what I used this morning to make myself a smoothie. It is easy to stay consistent. It is easy to keep your protein up. And Huel just launched in Target nationwide, so you can grab the ready-to-drink bottles straight off the shelf now if that's easier for you guys to do that. Reminder that the Black Edition, 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners. It is gluten-free, it is vegan, it tastes good, and it keeps you on the right track for your fitness goals in 2026. Huel, check it out, huel.com/BVB20 to take 20% off for new customers. If you are a Giant fan, I don't understand how, so I've seen a couple of people get nervous about, okay, wait a minute. So John Harbaugh couldn't win with Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh couldn't win with multiple All-Pros, multiple first team, multiple players that have done, incredible things in their careers in the NFL. And yet he only was able to win one championship. And Lamar Jackson is a guy who never won a championship under John Harbaugh. So why is John Harbaugh going to go to New York and be more successful than he was with the Baltimore Ravens? We really don't know the answer to that question, but I will say this. If you are a Giant fan, you have seen this, this revolving door of coaches who are trying to find their footing nearly every year. They don't have a plan. They don't have history. They don't know what they need to do to be successful. And it's really hard to look at John Harbaugh's resume and say that Jackson Dart is not going to improve with John Harbaugh as his quarterback. By all reports, Jackson Dart was in the meeting with ownership in the Mara family to help sell the Giants to John Harbaugh, because that's what they had to do. John Harbaugh was not selling himself to the Giants. It was the other way around. He wanted $20 million a year. He got it. The Giants are giving him $20 million a year. This was not him pitching himself. This was the Giants trying to convince John Harbaugh to take the job. So having Jackson Dart in that meeting speaks volumes, speaks absolute volumes about what this organization thinks about Jackson Dart, and what John Harbaugh gets to do is poke around and pick the brain of Jackson Dart. And by all accounts, he liked what he heard. The two got along, the two clicked. And now the Giants will try to improve upon the fact that they won 7 games over the last 2 seasons, but they have a ton of young talent. And now, as the Giants take John Harbaugh, the biggest piece off the board, the next question comes down is who's next? Like, there are 8 jobs that are open now in the NFL. So what comes next? Because this domino had to fall, and then every other domino should fall after that. Everybody here in Vegas is extremely interested to see as to where Kevin Stefanski is going to go, and then the litany of retread head coaches that are out there in the marketplace. The Robert Salas, the Brian Floreses, the Brian Dabbles of the world. This is a very weak market for head coaches, and yet there are 8 openings out there right now in the NFL. And next year, we went through a year this past year where if you were betting with the public, you got destroyed. Like, teams that were receiving 60% of the tickets got destroyed. And I think that had a lot to do with parity, and a lot to do with, I think there was some leveling of the coaches, the coaching's, game plans, that there wasn't any big advantage. Teams, the Patriots maybe did. The Chiefs did at times when they were healthy. The Seahawks did at times, depending on where Mike McDonald was. But for the most part, it was a bad year for coaches. It was a bad year for head coaches. And so we see it. The Broncos go 14-3. The Patriots go 14-3. The Bears come back consistently in the fourth quarter and win time and time again in the fourth quarter because Ben Johnson was able to figure things out by the time they got to the fourth quarter. Well, now we have 8 jobs open, and I'm not sure there's any job right now that is jumping up and down about what their options really are to come in and be the next head coach of their franchise. I like Kevin Stefanski. Whenever I bring up Kevin Stefanski, everybody tells me I'm nuts. Like, it just, everyone says that Kevin Stefanski, it feels like the NFL fan public hates Kevin Stefanski because he coached the Browns. He won with the Cleveland Browns. I think that says a lot about Kevin Stefanski. I like him a lot. I mean, look, Eric's saying he should be an OC. Like he thinks don't even take a head coaching job. I mean, I think Stefanski should have his pick. Miami, the Raiders, the Titans even. I mean, go through the list. The Browns. The list is wild with the number of jobs that are currently open. Jesse Minter is getting a ton of interview requests. The DC for the Chargers. The Steelers want to talk to him. He very well might be the next guy. The Titans are interviewing Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is getting interviews with NFL teams for head coaches. The Titans supposedly really want Kevin Stefanski, but they're going to interview Jonathan Gannon. The Titans, I mean, what are you doing interviewing Jonathan Gannon? Like, this is nuts. Like, as somebody who's in a market with a team that has a job opening at the moment, I get it. There's a lot of worry at the moment as to who exactly is going to get the job because there are no home run hires left. John Harbaugh was the home run hire. Congratulations to the Giants. They got the biggest, free agent, if you want to call it that. Mike Tomlin's not coaching this year. If Mike Tomlin's was coaching, he would be right behind, pick of the litter, 8 teams. But you look at the 8 openings, and I don't blame Mike Tomlin for going, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't want any part of it. Last year, Ben Johnson wanted the Bears. He got it. Last year, Mike Vrabel wanted the Patriots. He got it. Those coaches went to the places that they knew they could win because they had history, they had knowledge, and they had a game plan. I think that John Harbaugh believes that he thinks he can win. He knows he can win with the Giants. And frankly, I have a hard time arguing with that. Could the Cowboy job be open next year? Maybe. And maybe that's where a Mike Tomlin looks at it and says, okay, I'd rather be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. If things continue to go really south in Philadelphia and spiral out of control, could Nick Sirianni be out? Probably not, but maybe that job opens up. So there's a potential for better jobs to be open in the future. And I don't blame Mike Tomlin for saying, these 8, I want no part of it. From an ownership standpoint, organizational standpoint, and talent standpoint, look, the Raiders have the first pick in the draft. Whoever takes the job with the Raiders, you got to be comfortable rebuilding for years. You're not going to be good for like 4 years, 2028, 2029. Like, you're a ways away. You got to find the quarterback first and foremost, and maybe it's Mendoza, but maybe it's not. So this is far from over, but the first big domino has fallen, and we do know that it's going to be the Giants and John Harbaugh for $100 million over 5 years. Does he stay 5 years? I don't know. That's a question. He stayed 18 with the Ravens. 5 years for a Giant head coach, 5 years is a long time. That's a long time. All right, he's here. Let's find out where he is in this great world. Where on the planet is our guy, Adam Bjorn, joining us here on a BetCris Arizona Thursday? What's up? Oh, I'm going to guess. Are you in Jamaica or Costa Rica? Where are you, Adam?
Costa Rica. Very boring this week. You got me a day before I head off to Barcelona. So, yeah, just a nice, quiet day, just prepping, getting ready for the weekend. And, a week at ice at the gaming in Barcelona.
Very cool. How long of a flight is it from Costa Rica to Barcelona? That's got to be a hike, no?
Yeah, I think it's like 9 to 10 hours to Madrid, and then Madrid, I guess it's close to Barcelona, but I've never flown this route, never flown Iberia, never, this. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Very cool. Are you ready to co-host with me? Are you excited for San Francisco? You're going to be my co-host in 2 weeks. Insanely. And there's a long trek before then, but yes, I'm booked. I'm ready to go. Interesting. So you have another trip between Barcelona and San Francisco. You have another trip in between. There's a couple. But yeah, I don't want to give it away. I don't know where Thursday lands on or where I'll be at. And then, what have we got? Two Thursdays before then, if I'm accurate, right? Yeah. 3 weeks. Yeah. 3 weeks. Sorry. It's 3 weeks from today.
There you go.
3 weeks.
So,
sorry.
the next few weeks is going to get a little interesting. I will just say that.
I'm going to New Orleans in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to San Francisco after that. And I'm dreading my travel. I cannot imagine what your travel is going to look like over the next.
What I can say is this: the flight to Madrid for first leg is probably the third or fourth longest flight I have before we meet up in San Francisco.
Third or fourth longest, and it's 9 hours.
There you go.
I want to see your passport. My God, that's got to be crazy. Because in Jamaica, I was really excited because they still stamp your passport. And by the way, I'm wearing the Jamaican jacket for you today. They still stamp your passport in Jamaica. I'm always amazed, like which countries don't do that anymore. They don't give you that stamp on your passport.
So I stopped getting Costa Rica about 3-4 months ago. Once I got residency, they stopped doing it. I was very disappointed. The US is like hit and miss, but generally they don't do it when you're going into the US now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird that they don't do that. And I'm like trying to track where I've been and what and the kids grab the passports and they're going, well, where'd you go this time? So what I've done now is last year I did a sticky notes calendar that's in the living room at the house. And I just refreshed it and did the 2026 one the other day. I'd used it about 45 sticky notes with different events. Yeah, different events, flights, all these kind of things. So they're tracking it. They're ready to go and watch the journey as the year goes on. And I've added a few for them this year as well. So it's a big year ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in San Francisco and getting to do Radio Row and just sitting down and chatting, talking shop, and we find out who's in the game because we got to obviously get to the games. We got 4 games cut down to 4 teams after this weekend. We only have 7 games left in the NFL season, which is really depressing when you stop and think about that. But let's get into these games because they're going to be fascinating. Bills and the Broncos opened with Bills being favored, quickly flipped to the Broncos being favored, the total being 46. Do you see any shot at Buffalo going off as the favorite in this game on Saturday?
No, not with where the money's at right now. We've got about 61% of the money on the Broncos, 100% of the master money's on the Broncos. That was at +1.5 is where they generally bet it. And then we've got a lot of money actually laying the 3 on Denver plus money as well, which was a surprising thing when I dug into where the master money laid. But about half of that master money that we have is actually laying 2.5 and 3 at plus odds.
So let's get into that for a second, because I guess it doesn't, I mean, if the Broncos win, most likely they're going to win by 3 or more, just given the way football is. The Bills on the road last week at Jacksonville and now playing in the first game in Denver on the road, short week on Saturday. Does the travel factor in at all to you? Does the back-to-back road games in the shorter week, does that factor into this game at all to you?
Well, I mean, Denver was always that tough place to go, Mile High and everything else. I mean, that, short week and whatnot. If this was anybody but the Bills, much bigger number. The Bills still seem to have, and even in the live betting last week, it's like there's still the Bills of 2-3 years ago. People are hopeful. And I think there's kind of a part of people that would love to see the Bills make it, especially from a 7 seed, get all the way and, whatnot. I know you've got the Patriots on that side, so you've just got to, but I think there's a big part of the football fraternity that, like, they can't win it from the 1 or 2 seed, so maybe they can, get there from the 7. But it's a long road to go. But yeah, I think the master money on this is really showing up. That put it around pick'em, 2 teams, one off the rest. Which there's always the conversation of rustiness and all those kind of things. But that's the side to start with, and then see how the game plays out.
If by chance the Bills were to close as the favorite, but as you said, I don't think we're going to get there. But if we did, we have not seen a team off a bye in the playoffs be a home dog in 40 years in the NFL. Like, this just doesn't happen where you are resting. The team you're playing played the week before. They're traveling to your place and you're the home dog. Like, that in betting just hasn't been seen for 40 years. So it makes a lot of sense that we would see the Bills the Broncos be the favorite here after it did open up at the Bills -1 or -1
Yeah.
and a half.
And that just goes back. It's Josh Allen. And maybe it'd be Mahomes if that had happened a year or so ago or whatnot, where they're coming into it. But as I said, any other team in this spot, Broncos are going to easily probably be a field goal or whatnot. But yeah, I think the money's going to show. That's why I don't see it going back the other way.
Yeah, and frankly, you mentioned who wants it, the public, but I think the NFL really wants it because you look at the top two. The Patriots and the Broncos right now aren't the two sexiest, teams out there. People don't know much about Bo Nix or Drake May. They know about Josh Allen. So the NFL, if Buffalo makes it to San Francisco, that's a ratings boon for the NFL. So I think there's a lot of people in New York that would love to see Buffalo win the game and get to San Francisco, win 2 more games for that matter.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I know that was the conversation around NBA time was who the hell are in the finals?
Right.
So yeah, that goes for all the sports.
Well, and I'll ask you that question coming up a bit in later with the Indiana and Miami game, because the ratings for the semifinals in the national championship semifinals in college football were way down for that very reason. Because who plays for Indiana? Who plays for Miami? Like, who are these teams? Oregon? What? So it does, brand names do matter when it comes to these big high profile games. The 49ers are on the road again to the Seahawks in week 18. This did not go well. Niners got housed. Number is 7 at your shop, 45.5 for this one. One-way traffic on Seattle, or are we seeing 49er money?
No, this is super well balanced. And both the games when they met each other, I believe the away team won both games.
Yep.
This was always one that I look at when these division teams meet, because I know going back many, many years, and I think it was when the Giants had their runs, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. And Dallas had crushed them in the regular season, both games, then they meet in the playoffs and it turns around. So I did definitely look at this game. It opened 7, quickly went to 7.5, going back to 7, but this is super well balanced. Generally it's like plus 7.5, -7, plus 7.5, -7. So, it's good two-way action. Even on the Masters, that's where it's sitting. It's about 53% on Seattle. But right now, this is just getting great two-way action at the 7 and the 7.5 bouncing around.
Does it matter to you that week 1 was the win for the 49ers when they were completely healthy, and now they're going to Seattle without George Kittle, without Nick Bosa, without Frank Warner? Like, this is a walking wounded mass unit of a football team in the Niners.
Well, 100%. That's why it's a touchdown favorite of a division team that, probably a lot shorter no matter which ground they're playing at. So, this didn't surprise me. I know we had some back and forth. I thought it'd be 6.5. You had 7.5. It looks like it's going to land in the middle there somewhere. I'm a little biased on this. Again, 49ers is my only futures that I have left. So getting through last week kind of probably gave me some false hope. And especially, San Fran coming up, being at home, and that'd be a great spot to be in. But yeah, this feels like Seattle might just run over them again.
Yeah, I have a 14-1 on San Francisco and a 14-1 on Seattle. So I kind of am not going to be heavily committed to this game just because I get one team to advance to the NFC Championship game, but I'm going to lose the other. So a part of me wants Seattle to win just because they got a better shot of winning the next game being at home. They've won 10 straight home playoff games. So they win this, it would be 11. The Niners, at some point, this team has to run out of gas. Like at some point, the magic has to wear off for San Francisco. And it might be next week. If they win this week, it might be next week, depending on who they wind up playing. To Sunday we go, and it's my Patriots laying 3 to the Texans. The Texans have never won this game. In their history, they are 0-6 lifetime straight up. CJ Stroud just won his first road playoff game, but he did so by fumbling 5 times and throwing a pick in the red zone. He was fortunate to get away with that because the Steelers offense couldn't do very much. I love the under in this game. I've already bet the under 41. You guys are down to 40.5. It feels like that's the safest play in the game, but what are you seeing for Texans Patriots?
This one with about 76% of the money's on the Patriots, 59% of the master money. When I dig into the Patriots side, 30% of that's at -2.5, 68% at 3, and then there's some spattered numbers on the flip side, Houston's like split, 48% plus 3, 48% plus 3.5, and a few smattered numbers. On the total, actually, it's about 54% on the under, but we're at 78% of the master money on the over.
Wow.
And trying to just quickly look at those numbers, they are at 38.5, 39, 40, chunk at 40.5 at 41, and then a bit of comeback there at 41.5. So they are at 38.5 and 39, which is, a little lower than what it is now on the openers. But yeah, that's how it's sitting right now.
How about that on the, I guess it's the weather, right? I mean, they figure that the defense for the Patriots may be susceptible at times if Gonzalez is hurt. He got a concussion practice yesterday, but wow, I'm really surprised at the over being hit there just because of the Patriots going up against that defense for the Texans. I'm going to be pacing the entire game. I mean, it's going to be one of those stressful, crazy Sundays for me because the Texans have been a bugaboo for me. I have been bad at betting Texan games for a long time. I lived there for a year. And so this is going to be a tough one. Patriots and the Texans should be a good game. And then finally, the Bears are at home and they are plus 4 dogs, Rams laying 4 on the road. This is a number where if we close at 4, we have not seen this very much in the last 50 years of the NFL. This has only happened 9 times, but the home team is 9-0 against the spread, catching 4 points or more in the playoffs over the last 50 years. I like the Bears. Where's the money?
Yeah, when I looked at this number, I like the Bears too. And before you started rolling off the stats and whatnot, can it be 10-0? 61% of the money on the Rams, 98% of the master money is on the Rams. This did open 3, so the master money is generally at 3, a little bit at 3.5, nothing at the 4 that it sits now. But yeah, I mean, Bears. I mean, what a game! What a comeback last week. It doesn't matter what your side you're on last week. You just feel bad at some point. You're on the Bears. Horrible. I mean, did you see the fans in the stadium in that weather? Like, just brutal. And then to be on Green Bay, looking at the final score, how the hell did you lose that one? Like, that was just one heck of a game. And they kept saying, Bears, they've come back so many games this year, this and this. And it got to the 4th quarter. It can't happen this time. And then
it did in a big way. Amazingly enough, 18-point lead blown by Matt LaFleur. The handshake, everybody's talking about the bleep the Packers conversation afterwards. And even yesterday, questions about Matt LaFleur and his friendship with Sean McVay, that they are breaking down film together for this game. This is a revenge spot for all the friends of Matt LaFleur to go after Ben Johnson for the things he said publicly. And Sean McVay, my only worry about the +4 is that normally in playoff games where a coach might just take a knee and run it out, I'm not sure they do that. They may go for a bleep you touchdown at the end of the game and wind up covering this 4-point number because of the relationship that Matt LaFleur and Ben Johnson have had. So fascinating game. The weather's going to be insane. What do you make of an LA-based team where yesterday it was 80 degrees outside at their practice, and they're going to go and play in potentially negative wind chill weather on Sunday?
I mean, I watched that Rams-Panthers game. I've watched the Bears-Packers games. I don't see why this is the number that it is. Yes, the way both games played out, but add that weather on top of it. I mean, everyone in Chicago will be out doing their snow dance all week long. I mean, I don't know. This is one of those numbers that just looks to me and I'm like, this can't be right. And then the game will be played. They'll win by 12, and it'll be like, right. Okay, all right, I was wrong.
Yeah, I think if the Rams do cover, I do think it might be ugly. It could be a lopsided victory for LA. But if the Bears cover, the Bears very well might win the game. So one of those games, maybe the point spread doesn't matter. Rams win, Rams cover. If the Bears win, the Bears are obviously going to cover that 4 pretty easily.
And last week, actually, the Bears money line was the data play of the week, so it was never in doubt. I mean, even when they were plus 2,000 or whatever money line, I mean, I'm sure people were still chipping in on it, but Yeah, I mean, last weekend as a whole, I mean, the dogs, the home dogs, the first, bunch of games, it was a great weekend of football.
Henry wants to know about the total for the Bears and the Rams. What are we seeing from a total perspective?
So it's at 48.5 right now. We've got 62% on the over, 53% of the master money on the over. Digging into it, I mean, there's people that have bet over 51, over 50.5. We've got the money on under 51, even under 48.5. But yeah, it's not. It hasn't gone one way or the other. It's back and forth, and they're playing. They're playing over in the 50s. So
I asked you this question. I can't remember which game it was, but I think it was the Bears game at the end of the year. I'm going to ask you again. If I gave you free tickets to go to this game, to sit outside in negative wind chill temperatures to watch the Bears play in the playoffs against the Rams, would you go?
Don't know. I'm not showing up for that one. Super Bowl, maybe, but up until that point,
outside.
Chicago, I mean, that's rough.
Addison wants to know, when's the last time you touched snow? Do you remember? Has it been recent?
Yeah, it's been this year when I was in Michigan before I left last time in Michigan.
Right.
We got snow. Yeah, it was post Breeders' Cup, beginning of November when they got their first snowfall. So yes, it's been recent. I am enjoying this beautiful Costa Rican weather. I did look up Barcelona weather, and ice having moved from London to Barcelona, which last time I went to ice was 9 years ago. I left. Tom Brady was down 28-3. I landed and I felt so sick, nauseous. My plus money to my bankroll had shortened a lot. So yeah, when I looked at this, Barcelona like 7 degrees, London was like 4. Like, I might just change my mind and stay here because the weather in Costa Rica is sensational right now.
I wouldn't blame you. I'm going to need all the recommendations. I'm going to Barcelona in April, so I'm going to need all the recommendations for places to go once you get over there. But the semifinal games, both of them in the college football playoffs, what was the handle like? Was it what you expected from an action standpoint? Because the TV numbers were way down.
Yeah, handle was great. That Ole Miss game. I mean, the first game was just back and forth and exactly what we wanted. Just the wrong result by like half a point or something.
Yeah.
Volume on that was phenomenal. The next one, little less volume, little less interesting. Was over very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I can see why. I mean, Indiana's very small. I've been interesting, sort of reading some stories about them and how the last few years their registrations and all these kind of things have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Based on the football and whatnot. But yeah, it was kind of sort of some ho-hum teams, I should say, for those, unless you're in those areas sort of wanting to get involved.
And now we have Miami at home at their home stadium taking on Indiana, who are 8.5-point favorites with a total of 47, which does feel a little bit low, if I'm being honest here, for a national championship game. Indiana has the largest alumni base in the country with 800,000 fans wanting to get into this building. Ticket prices are at an all-time high. The get-in price is $5,000 for this game on Monday. What are you seeing from an action standpoint early here on Thursday?
Wow. So we're at 68% of the money is on Indiana. Game open 7.5, now 8.5. 82% of the master money is on Miami. There's a chunk of that at plus 10. Someone bought it up, and then the rest of it's at 7.5. Master money on Indiana is only at 7. There's a bit there, but nothing further up on that as well. Looking at the total, it's about 62% on the over, about 61% on the under, but there is really not a lot of volume on the Masters on the total there. But yeah, I mean, Indiana's just, last week phenomenal. They've just been, doing what they need to do, running over the top of teams. Miami, Florida, I actually had futures on them last year at like 50s and 60s and stuff like that. And I tell you, over the course of 30 years, the amount of times I've gone hard on a team and they've been in the championship game the next year, but obviously they've gone decent the year before, and their odds just aren't what they were the year before. I remember a bunch of them over the years on the Super Bowl and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this 8.5 feels a little high, but Indiana have been running over teams. So
interesting line, interesting game. In-game betting wise, do you anticipate a heavily bet game in-game for Miami and Indiana?
Yeah, I suspect this will do everything that any of these NFL games do, if not more, come Monday night. I expect that, again, as long as they don't do what they just did to Oregon and just blow it out and run it up and whatnot. But I don't necessarily see that happening. I think this is a much tougher game. But yeah, this will run some good volume.
I can't wait to see
if it's close and it stays close.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what the crowd looks like. I mean, what the split's going to be, because obviously Miami, it's 20 minutes away from their homes, from their campus, so they're going to have obviously tons of fans trying to get in, but Indiana fans are driving the price up, so it's going to be a rocking atmosphere. I think both fan bases will be heavily represented coming up on Monday night for the national championship game. Should be very, very fun. Adam, travel safe to Barcelona. Looking forward to talking next week. We'll be down to the little two games left, the AFC and NFC championship games coming up next week. We'll get to you next week. Thanks for the time, bud. Really appreciate it.
All right, cheers, man. Thanks.
Adam Bjorn joining us here for a BetCris Arizona Thursday live from Costa Rica. Next week, who knows? I mean, my goodness, he's telling us he's going to be going. He has a 9-hour flight, and that's the third or fourth longest he will take before we get to San Francisco for the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm spending all of next week getting ready for New Orleans and then San Francisco, and I'm only going for 3 nights to New Orleans and 2 nights to San Francisco. And he is going to be, I mean, it's going to be fun. I don't know how he keeps track of the time, like where he is, what time it is, all that stuff. It's quite impressive with what Adam does. So appreciate Adam with the time here on a BetCris Arizona Thursday. Let's talk about what happened last night. All right, what happened last night, and this happened yesterday late and into today, and you guys have been putting this in the chat. 20 men have been charged in a point-shaving scheme involving more than 39 college basketball players on more than 17 NCAA teams, Division I teams, leading to more than 29 games being fixed. It's hard to underscore how dramatic this story is and how big this story is, because I think from a content standpoint, these are the types of stories that we hate, because when people come around and say that these games are fixed, they can just point to this story. Like, this is a really hard thing to read. This is a very hard reality as to what is going on when you have 17 NCAA D1 teams being involved in this. This was from an indictment that was unsealed on Thursday. 15 defendants played college basketball during the 23 and 24 seasons or the 24 and 25 seasons. Some have even played this season. 2 of the players named in the indictment were sanctioned back in November for fixing games involving New Orleans University basketball games. The other 5 defendants were described by authorities as, quote, fixers. At least 2 of these defendants were also charged in a federal indictment in the Eastern District of New York, centering on gambling schemes in the NBA. This is the Jonte Porter story. This is the type of story that all of us in the sports gambling space have to take very seriously and have to understand that this is not, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And I like the fact that we have these indictments. I like the fact these people are facing jail time for what they have done. But so often, we're talking about games that were played 2 or 3 years ago. So we're playing games right now. We're playing games today. So that leads to the questions about, well, when I watch something on TV and it looks crooked. It looks wrong. Well, how much is that? How likely is that? And again, I am still waiting for the scandal to involve referees, because at some point, I do think we're going to get that. And I don't know what to do when we get there, because we're already dealing with the overall integrity of the game. And I am not somebody who is going to subscribe to the idea that this is why legalization was a bad idea. I actually go the other way. This is why legalization was a good idea, because it puts pressure on the government and the authorities to investigate and prosecute those people who are doing this. And I think that's why you have things be legal. You legalize it, you tax it, you police it, and you put people behind bars who are doing things nefariously to affect the integrity of, in this case, the games. So I think this is a win for legalization, not a knock for legalization. But I will admit that these are stories that are very difficult to read and very difficult to argue when people start talking about, well, the integrity of the game is gone. But was it gone 20 years ago? Was it gone 30 years ago? When did it die? I don't believe it died in 2018 when PASPA was repealed. I don't believe that's what killed the overall integrity of any basketball game, football game, baseball game, whatever, because this stuff was happening before we had the legalization of sports gambling in the United States. Now we're just getting more and more of the court cases, more and more of the arrests and the perp walks because of legalization, in my opinion. I think we have more pressure to make sure that these games are on the up and up. And so you put guys like this behind bars, players like this behind bars. You ban them, you kick them out. And you hopefully don't see this happen again. But will it? Of course it'll happen again. Of course. Greedy people and criminals will do dumb things all the time. That's just the way that greedy people and criminals are. It's bad. There's no debate about it. It's bad. But that today is that's not even the news of the industry story. that's just a story. I have another one for news of the industry today. Texas knocked off Vanderbilt last night to give them their first loss of the season. So they're no longer undefeated. Number one, Arizona didn't cover the 21.5 point line. I was going to bet that and I didn't. So I'm mad at myself for not playing that last night. But only 3 teams remain undefeated in college basketball, Arizona being one of them, Nebraska being the other, and the third being Miami of Ohio. Nebraska being there just doesn't compute to me as a Creighton guy. Like the fact that there are 3 teams left in college basketball that have yet to lose, and Nebraska being one of them, and it's January 15th. I don't know what to do with that. Like I can't really process that. That doesn't make a lick of sense to me, but hey, it is what it is. Congrats to Fred Hoiberg's team. What they've done is incredible. Their start has been epic, and it is a rocking time right now in Lincoln, Nebraska. There are so many people that are jumping up and down about what this Husker basketball team is doing, because the football team hasn't done much in decades. And yet the basketball team is looking like they're going to finally win their first ever NCAA tournament game this year, because they're going to be a really high seed. So this could finally be that one insult that I have levied against Nebraska since 2004, when I first started covering the Creighton Blue Jays for 20 years. More than for 22 years now, I have been able to say, well, it's a pretty big joke that the only Power 4 conference team right now in existence that has never won a tournament game in their history is Nebraska. And that is still a fact right now. It probably ends this year, but that is still a fact that they have never won a tournament game ever. They've made the tournament, but they've never won a game in the tournament. They've always been one and done. And now this year might be that time. They might actually get their W coming up this year, which is amazing, right? Indiana is good at football. Nebraska is good at basketball. We are in the twilight zone. You're absolutely right. We are absolutely in the college sports twilight zone at the moment when it comes to where we are. It's a weird deal. It's definitely a weird deal. I'll give you that. Let's make some bets. All right, time just the picks being brought to you by the Betting Pros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Log on to bettingpros.com. Check out the Betting Pros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet on their app. Download the Betting Pros app or go to bettingpros.com/props as well. I only have one bet to give you guys. I have not bet on anything today yet, but I like the Patriots and the Texans under 41. The numbers moved to 40.5, but you heard from Adam, the professionals like the over in this game. I don't understand that. To be frank, that's kind of nuts to me. Because if the game goes over, you have to think the Patriots are going to win the game relatively easily. So I don't think that the Texans can play a game against the Patriots in which the Patriots score 28 points and the Texans win the game 31-28. I don't see that. That doesn't equate to me. So I think the Patriots score about 17 points. And then the question would be, how many points would the Texans score? So if the Texans win the game, 2017, fine, but the game goes under. I don't, that if the Patriots score 21, 24 points, I guess the Texans could score 20 or 17 and the game goes over that way. But I have a hard time seeing the Texans winning an over game. So if you like the Patriots, I guess you could like the over, but I don't think the Texans score. I don't think the Patriots score all that much. I like the under 41 here for the Patriots and the Texans. I mentioned it during the conversation with Adam about the ratings for the national championship semifinal. And I got to admit, I was pretty surprised at what happened at the ratings overall, because it wasn't good. And there's been a lot of conversation about college football, about the Blue Bloods, right? About Indiana and what exactly that would look like. And not to give credit to Joel Klatt, but Joel Klatt did say that college football fans don't want Cinderellas. And while I pushed back on that and didn't really like that idea, because I think people do like Cinderellas. I think people do like the opportunity that you have some unknown teams make runs. The viewership for the college football semifinals, not good. The Miami and Ole Miss game averaged 15.8 million viewers, down 11% from last year's Notre Dame versus Penn State game. And the Indiana game against Oregon averaged 18 million. That trailed the Friday night semifinal last year by Ohio State over Texas by 13%. Overall, however, the playoff viewership has been up 3%. Now, what does this mean as we go into the championship game? I'm not really sure, because the Alabama-Indiana game did big numbers on New Year's Day. 24 million people watched that. That was the most watched game. It remains the most watched game of not only this year's playoff, but of any playoff in the history of the 12-team event. So that is skewing the numbers here a little bit going towards this playoff run. So you take that game out and we're way down by comparison. So Indiana, Miami on Monday night, standalone. If you're a Hoosier fan, you're going crazy. If you're a Hurricane fan, you're going crazy. What if you're somebody in Portland, Oregon? Do you care at all about this? Do you care that you have a Miami, Indiana football game? Do you know anybody besides Mendoza in the game? Maybe Carson Beck. That's part of the problem, I think. It's the name recognition. It's the brand recognition. It's the coaches, okay? Mario Cristobal is not a household name in sports. No, Kirk Cignetti is coming around because of his quotes and whatnot, but Cignetti still is a very unknown commodity by the average person in America. So I'm very curious to see how the ratings go on Monday for this game. My gut tells me not great. Not great for Miami and Indiana, but the betting, the semifinal betting, according to Adam, was awesome. So maybe the championship betting equally will be awesome because it is a standalone football game for it all, for all the marbles, as Miami tries to win their first championship in 20 years and Indiana tries to win their first championship in football ever, like ever. So big opportunity, big game. I'm excited for it. It's a strength on strength type thing. Great offense against a great defense, but can that Miami offense score against that defensive front for Indiana? That's the whole game to me, but we'll spend a lot of time breaking that down for Monday coming up after the weekend. News of the industry. All right, news of the industry. And this is a pretty telling, kind of run on the same lines of that points shaving scandal. Charlie Baker and the NCAA have penned a letter to Congress, to the CFTC, asking them to make sports prediction markets illegal until there is a regulation in place, a regulatory body in place, a watchdog system in place, the same way that there is for sports books. This is so basic. This is so easy. This should be a simple yes for the CFTC, but I don't think they're going to do it. In a speech to Congress, Charlie Baker said, so-called prediction markets are offering what anyone can see is unregulated betting on college games. One operator, Kalshi, made plans to start taking bets, and I kid you not, this is true, on transfer portal decisions until we called them out and they backed down. That is true. In the letter to the CFTC, Charlie Baker wrote, I implore you to suspend collegiate sport prediction markets until a more robust system with appropriate safeguards is in place. I have been on this point for a long time. Okay. I am not anti-prediction market. What I am anti is the unregulated nature of the prediction markets and the fact that we do not have the same system set up to investigate improper things happening to, and we talked about it yesterday, to markets that can be manipulated. I had people who reached out to me yesterday. If you missed the clip, you can go to my socials at Sports Talk Matt on Instagram and on Twitter. You can see where I posted the clip from yesterday's show in which we talked about the White House and what happened with Polymarket as they wrapped up what should have been a hour and a half type press conference. They wrapped it up 30 seconds before the total was supposed to go over, and those people on the under 50x'd their money. Did that look fixed? You better believe that looked fixed. Was it? How do we know? The regulatory body, the CFTC, is being run by the White House. You think the White House is going to investigate itself? No, that's not going to happen. You can rip the sports books all you want for the regulatory bodies that they have gone into business with, and I have on this show. But at least there are independent third-party systems being put into place to watch what is happening from a betting perspective, and things are being flagged. And when it's flagged, it's then investigated. And if there's something illegal going on, it is then handed off to the authorities. There is none of that with sport prediction marketplaces. This is the wild, wild west in every form. In college sports, look, the indictment today is all we need to know. 17 teams over the course of the last 3 years involved in a sports gambling scandal where point shaving was happening in college basketball. People are going to go to jail for this. And that's what sports gambling. In the prediction marketplace, there's none of that. There are no safeguards. We don't know what is legal and what is illegal. We don't know if insider trading is allowed or not allowed. We don't know if that's illegal or not. This is so far beyond the scope of what sports gambling was supposed to be. We have allowed these companies to operate in this loophole, and it's getting nasty. And it's getting really bad. And Charlie Baker is an alarmist. That's his job. But I don't think he's being crazy here by throwing up the red flag and throwing up a help sign to the CFTC to say, hey, can you just pause this until we get our arms around this? Can you give us a chance to get a breath here to find out what actually is happening with these prediction markets? Because they can bet on anything. They're taking action on everything and anything. And that's not what we okayed. That's not what we are comfortable with as a governing body. We don't think this is right. The CFTC should have paused it this morning, but they're not going to. They're going to let these markets go on to Monday, into college basketball, into the NCAA tournaments. More on this coming up in bonus time. If you're with us live, don't move. If you're on Sports Grid, thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys. We're back tomorrow for our final Fight Song Friday of the 2026 season. We'll do a little Miami, a little Indiana to prep you for the college football playoff and obviously championship game on Monday, but obviously we'll get into it coming up on Monday as well. Thank you for watching. Back tomorrow, 1 a.m. Eastern time on Sports Grid. You guys live, bonus time. And so just to continue the point, I don't know why the CFTC wants this. Like, I don't know why they want this beef. The new head already went in front of Congress and got roasted pretty nastily by both sides of the aisle about what was going on and what they're going to allow and what can you bet on and what can't you bet on. I mean, we saw, a lot of money being made on the invasion of Venezuela. We've seen a lot of money being made. Obviously, I've talked about the White House press conference. We're talking the press briefing. Like, there's just these things that keep on popping up that it looks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. It is a manipulated market. People are manipulating it. But the problem is in the prediction market space, at least when it comes to poly market, insider trading is not just okay. It's allowed. Like it's allowed. And so if we're going to allow insider trading, when we go to the stock market, the SEC prevents insider trading. If you have inside information in sports gambling and you're fixing the game, you're going to be convicted of a crime for doing that, for manipulating the game. In the prediction market space, this is encouraged by certain companies. Now, Kalshi claims that they don't want insider trading and they will keep people away or ban people or refund money. They won't pay out bets if they think you're insider trading. But that's not what Polymarket does. Polymarket has no problem with this. In fact, they like the insider trader because that person can help shape the market. That person gets them to the right price if one person's heavy on one side. Or the whole public thinks that it's going one way, and yet the person who is in charge of it knows what's going to happen, and thus they bet the other side, and it balances the risk for the prediction market. Like, we're in this such of a crazy space, and we're in such a weird time that you have the head of the NCAA who's simply asking for a pause. He's simply saying, hey, we don't know what the hell is going on. Can you guys just stop this for a second? Can you let us build the infrastructure that's going to protect the kids here? And again, I don't want to see prop betting on sports, on college sports being taken away. Okay. I don't do it personally, but I know people who do it and do it quite well. And I don't have really a big problem with it. If you want to give that up, I'm okay with giving that up. I'm okay with making really, if you want to take away most prop bets, micro markets, as they're called, if you want to get rid of those micro markets, I'm okay with that. If we have to give that up to protect the greater good, meaning sports gambling as a whole. But this idea of betting on the length of political press conferences and invasions of foreign countries, these are things that we always thought were off limits, that this was not okay. We don't, as I talked about it yesterday during the opening line, we don't need to bet on everything. We just don't need it. It's not necessary to bet on every single thing, but it feels like the country, some parts of the country, they're perfectly comfortable with that happening. And thus we're sitting here staring at what I think is a pretty reasonable request to the CFTC, knowing there will be nothing of that to be done. There will be no pausing of college sports prediction markets anytime soon. There's no way this has their angle, their play is to be too big to fail. They're going to get so many people on board. They're going to sign so many athletes. They're going to spend so much money. They're going to buy so many politicians that nobody can police them really. And they're claiming the only people can protect them are the three blind mice at the CFTC. That's who they're claiming. And they're saying until the CFTC tells us to stop, we're going to keep on going. And the CFTC has no intention of telling them to stop. And that's the problem. That's the issue, because the states are going to court and the states are suing and the states are trying to do everything they can do. But the American political system and the American judicial system takes forever to get anything done. And these companies know it, and they're taking advantage because they're pointing at the one thing that they will listen to, and the one thing they will listen to has no plans to tell them to stop. I feel for Charlie Baker. I really do. I think what his request is completely rational. I think it's something that should have been done this morning. The CFTC should have paused sports gambling prediction markets this morning. Now, I think prop bets should be paused immediately. If you want to say, hey, we're going to do it in the summer, we're going to, reconstitute everything in the summer. We're going to let the markets play out because people have been betting. There's a lot of money in the markets for the national championship for football and the national championship for college basketball. I'm okay with saying, hey, let those sides and totals, those prediction markets, let them play out. But the prop betting should be cut down immediately. The prop bet should be done today. Cut it, be done. And then after March or after April 4th, decide, okay, we're done. We're going to pause everything. Let's get it right this summer. Let's get the right regulatory system in place, and then let's go ahead and do it. And if you want to give bettors a heads up and say, hey, come May 1st, we're going to pause all college sports markets and then bring it back up after a month or two, great. But they have no interest in doing that. They have no interest in any of it happening. They're just going to let it keep on going until a court somewhere says you can't do it. And then they're going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to feel like the Supreme Court is going to say, yes, keep doing it. You're perfectly in the right. You can keep rolling with this. And again, I don't think Charlie Baker is right by wanting to eliminate all prop betting from college sports. I don't think that that's the right move either. So I don't think he's 100% right. But when it comes to prediction markets, he's right when he says this is unregulated and we don't have the same stopgaps, the same protections with the prediction markets that we do for the regulated sports books. They have got a system in place that is responsible for catching the point shaving scandal that we talked about earlier in the program. Let's talk favorite thing about today. Favorite thing about today is I am so psyched that what we're doing coming up here for the Super Bowl. This is so fun. In case you missed the opening of the show, BetCris Arizona, Adam Bjorn is going to co-host the show on Thursday from the Super Bowl. On Friday, Sim Harmon from Cut is going to be the co-host, as Cut will present the show on Friday from the Super Bowl. We will have Huel alongside, and we will also have a new sponsor that will start on Monday that I'm going to tell you all about on Monday's show to be a part of our coverage for the Super Bowl. So just really, really cool things. The start, 26 has gotten off to a really good start. There's been a lot of excitement and a lot of energy around the show, a lot of interest for the show as to what we are doing and what we have done here during this football season. Oftentimes you get to March and then April, and then it goes into like a nuclear winter type period. And I'm trying my hardest not to have that happen and have a very difficult summer. I want to have a really fun summer. I have always looked at, the full season, the full year of 2026 or whatever year that it is, as, football season is New Year's Day in a lot of ways. So, once we get to September 1st, that's New Year's Day. That's the start of the year. And so when you get to the Super Bowl, that's sort of, it's not really the end of the year. It's the end of football, but it's sort of like your halfway point. And then you get back the back end's always kind of quiet, but you have a lot of baseball and basketball and NBA playoffs and the NHL and everything else. So, I'm really excited for 26. I'm super psyched to co-host with Adam Bjorn and super psyched to do it with Sim Harmon. We have not done content with Sim in a while. Cut's been out there doing some pretty cool things. So psyched to welcome them back to the program on Friday, live from the Super Bowl. So that's 3 weeks from today. We start those live shows. I was skipping a week. So we're 3 weeks away from the Super Bowl. Next week, the week after that, I'm in New Orleans. The week after that, we're in San Francisco. So a lot of good stuff to come. Hopefully you guys in the brigade are going to come a long way with us. Come on, let's be a part of the ride. We appreciate all of you guys being in the chat, writing, subscribing to the YouTube channel, being a part of whatever content we put out. I thank you all for doing that. It means the world to me. We are back tomorrow to look at all 4 games for the NFL. Make picks, plays, props, and more coming at you. Big Football Friday, our final fight song Friday for the 2026 football season, as Monday's national championship is right around the corner. Appreciate you guys watching. Back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for a Friday's episode of BVB.